Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to learn different data cleaning processes in Excel. So today we're going to learn how to remove duplicates. So duplicates are values that will be repeated twice or more, and we're going to learn how to split column. We're going to learn how to merge or combine a column. We're going to learn how to find and replace values. So we're going to learn these data cleaning processes in Excel. So stay tuned to the end of the video, and then don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell to be notified when next a video is posted. Bye. Hello guys. Okay, so we are going to go into the class now. The first thing we are going to do today is we are going to learn how to remove duplicates. Remember what I said? Duplicates are values that appear more than once, right? And you want to go ahead and do your analysis with a duplicated value. So how do we go about removing the duplicate? So just go over to your tabs, then choose your data tab. When you select your data tab, then come over to data tools. You see this blue and white box here is for removing duplicate. So you see remove duplicate. So when you press it, when you tap on it, it will select all the columns in this data set. It will select all the columns. Yeah, all the columns are selected. Then after that, you can press OK. So now it's telling us no duplicate value is found. So in case there is a duplicate value here, you are going to see one duplicate value is found and what replaced, right? You see one duplicate value is found and replaced. Okay, let's press OK. So let me add a duplicate value in this data. Let me add a duplicate value. So I will insert an empty row. Then I'll copy this row 6 and paste in this empty row. So now we have the same values in row 4 and 5 and 6, right? So now let's go ahead and remove duplicates. So let's come over to under data tab, go to data tools, right? Then press your remove duplicates. It's all the columns will be selected, so press OK. So now it's telling us what one duplicate value is found and removed, right? So that's because we just created a duplicate, so it's telling us that that duplicate has been found and removed, and 9,993 unique values remain. So this is how we remove. Just press OK. So now this is how we remove duplicates. So the next thing we are going to learn is we're going to learn how to trim our data. So what is trimming? Trimming is basically moving empty spaces. So maybe you can come across a data that is not aligned in a way it's meant to be. Something like this, right? Something like this is not aligned. It's having extra spaces. It's having extra spaces, right? It's having extra spaces. So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with it? How do you remove these empty spaces so you can start from where it's meant to be? So see how it's looking. So how do we deal with it? So how to go about this is, first, before you do anything, you have to create what we call a helper column. So a helper column is just an empty column that we insert beside the column we want to use, we want to work on, just to help us work on the column. So how to insert a column, a new column, you just tap on the column, right click, and then you see insert. So that's how I inserted this column. So now come to the first cell of the new column inserted, press equals to, then press trim. So trim is a function in Excel. So as you are pressing the trim, you see that it pops up. So just double click it, then select the first cell of the column you want to trim, right? After selecting the first cell, then press enter. So you see it has been trimmed. Then to replicate this down to the rest of the cells, all you have to do, bring your arrow key to this small box at the edge of your cell, and then double click. So when you double click, you notice that it has been replicated to other cells, and also you notice that the empty spaces have been removed, right? You notice that the empty spaces have been removed. Now you are done doing that. What do we do next? How do we have to keep one of the column here and one out, because you cannot keep both of the columns here. So what do we do? If you go ahead delete, if you go ahead to delete, sorry, if you go ahead to delete this column here, it's going to, the new column you created is going to give you error. So let's undo that step. You cannot what? You can't delete this column. So what can you do? All you have to do is to come over to this column, the new column you created, right click and copy it, then come over to the original column, right click and paste it as values. So now we pasted as values. You see now the corrected version has corrected, this column has been corrected, right? This column has been corrected. So now we can go ahead and delete this one. So with that, we've trimmed our column. We've trimmed our what? Column. Yeah. So now the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to learn how to split a column. So we are going to learn how to split a column. So use splitting column when, let me say you have a column that has full name, right? Like a column that has first name and second name. Okay, let's go to this customer sheet. Yeah, let's go to this sales rep sheet. Go to this sales rep sheet. You see that this is the names of the sales team. These are the names of the sales team. So now we want to split the columns to have first name and second name. How do you go about that? So the first thing you will do is to select the column, right? Select the column, then go to, or still under your data tab, go to text to columns, then delimited is selected. This delimited means characters such as comma or tabs that separate each field. So delimited, they are characters that separate two words together, two words that are placed side by side. Delimited are characters that separate them. So it can be space, it can be comma, it can be hyphen, it can be a dot, it can be whatever that separates two words together is called a delimiter. So we are splitting this column by delimiter. So it's automatically selected, right? So we go to next. When we go to next, we'll select this tab, and then we select the delimiter that we have. So how do you know the delimiter that you have to select? Look at the column you want to split. What is separating the two words? So what is separating the two words here in our own is what? Space. So you select space. So immediately you select space, look at the data preview. You notice that this has been splitted. So this is what we're going to get. Then press next. So then when you come over to the next, the only thing you have to do here is on this destination bar. So click on this destination bar, then come over to the first cell of the column of the next column. So just in case you are splitting a column you want to split is in the midst of other columns that have values, right? You are meant to create a helper column. You are meant to create a helper column. So if you are splitting a column into two, you create two helper columns. If you are splitting it into three, let me say they have three values, three names. Let me say they have first, second, and they have first, last name and other names. I want to split it into three. You have to create three helper columns. So here we're not creating any helper column because we already have an empty column here, right? So when you create that helper column in destination, you just select the first cell of the column that you created. So now first select the first cell of this column in destination, then I'll now press finish. So after that, we now have what? The two columns splitted. So if you notice, the name of the column header was also splitted, right? But I don't think we shouldn't split the column header, right? So in case you don't want to split the column head, all you have to do is just to select, don't select the whole column, just select the values. Remember how to do that. Control and your shift key, hold your control and your shift key, then press your left arrow key, So we've selected our data, then now go back to text to columns. Limited is automatically selected, then go to next, then yeah, space is selected, go to next, then tap the destination bar, then select the first cell of the column you want to split it in, then press finish. So see, our column header didn't split with it. So now we can name our column here first name, right? This will be first name and this will be last name. Last name. So here, this is how we split our column. This is how we split our column. Yeah, so now how do you merge the column back? So how do you merge the column? Let's go back to this customer tab, this customer sheet, sorry. So now this customer sheet has first name and last name already. So how do we merge it? We want to get a column we want to get a full name column, right? How do we merge these two columns? So first, to create a what, we insert a new column which is called a helper column. Then what do? There are two ways to combine a column, not two actually, there are three ways to combine a column. We have using ampersand operator, we can use concatenation, and we can use test join, right? We can also use flash fill, but we're just going to talk about two ways today. So we're going to talk about using the ampersand operator, and we'll talk about using the concatenate function. So we'll start with the ampersand operator. So after you finish inserting your column, come over to the first cell, first equals to, then select the first cell of the column you want to combine, then put in the ampersand sign. This sign is what we call ampersand. Then select the second cell you want to, the first cell of the second column you want to combine, then press enter. So here is combined together, but notice that there's no space in between, right? Notice there's no space in between. So how do we put space in between it? What we have to do is insert two double quotes. So come over after the ampersand, insert double quotes. So after the ampersand, insert double quote space, double quotes, then ampersand, and then the second cell. So yeah, we've created a space. So now to replicate it to the other cells, remember, just double click, and yeah, we've created our new column, full name. So let's say you want to combine three columns, right? Maybe it has first name, last name, and other names, and you want to have all of them in one column. Let's assume that this column is the other names, right? So how do we combine three columns? All you have to do, write the ampersand sign, then space and ampersand sign again, and then the second and the third cell of the third column you want to combine, then press enter. See, we've combined three columns. Then if we want to replicate it, you double click. Now we have three columns in one column. So we can name this as a full name. We can name this as a full name. So now how do you combine a column using the concatenate function? So all you have to do is to do equals to concat then select the first cell of the column you want, then do comma, then input your space, comma, select the second cell, then close the bracket or just press enter. You see, it has been merged, it has been combined together. So in case you want to merge three columns, all you have to do, comma, space, comma, and then the third cell you want to combine, then enter. See, we've combined three columns together. So these are the two ways you combine a column together, right? So you can choose to use whatever method you like. So now we can name this full name. You can name this full name. full name, right? So now the next thing we are going to learn is how to change cases. So maybe you come across a column that has lowercase and you want it to be in uppercase. So how do you change it to uppercase? So let's go back to your sales sheet. Let's use this column as an example. So first, let's create a helper column. Create a helper column, right? Then press equals to, then you write upper. Upper is a function. Write upper, then select the first cell of the column you want to change to uppercase, then press enter. So it has been changed to uppercase. If you want to replicate it, you double click, right? So now all of them are what? Uppercase. So right, if you want to change it to a lowercase, all you have to do is instead of upper, you write what? Lower. So if you want to change to a lowercase, you write lower, then select the first cell, press enter, then you can now replicate it to other cell. Then if you want to make it a proper cell, a proper case is when the first alphabet is in capital letter and then the rest are small letter. So you write proper, select the first cell, press enter, so it's at proper. So basically this is already at proper. So let's leave it this way. So these are the ways you can change the casing of your data. So now the last thing we are going to talk about is how to use find and replace value. But before we talk about that, let's talk about how to remove empty cells. How do we remove empty cells and empty rows? So here, let's delete this row 10. Let's delete this row 10. So I will delete this. No, not delete. Sorry. Let's just insert an empty cell instead of delete. Let's insert an empty cell. So we have two empty cells. Let's insert two empty cells. So we have two empty cells here. So how do we delete it? Let's say you have like millions of data and then you have like up to 100 empty cells. You might not be able to delete it one by one. So how do you do that in a faster way? So we go to our home tab, then we'll come over to this editing, then come over to this find and replace. When we come to find and replace, we go to special. When you go to special, you select blanks. When you select blanks, press OK. So now it's going to do what? It's going to select the blank spaces. So now these two rows are blank rows, right? They are empty rows. So after it's selected, you come over to this delete. So you select delete sheet rows because it's a row, right? You select delete sheet rows. So now we've deleted our empty rows. So now what if we have empty cell? How do you deal with empty cell? I'm just creating an empty cell. You can undo this step to get your data back. So how do you deal with empty cells? When you have empty cell, how do you delete it? So the thing about empty cells is that you're not advised to delete an empty cell because why? An empty cell has all that value. An empty cell is in a row, right? And that row has other values. Like this cell here has a value, this cell here has a value, this cell here has a value, this also has a value, this also has a value. So when you delete this empty cell now, you cannot just delete it. When you want to delete this, you're basically going to delete these whole rows. You're going to delete this whole row. So when you delete an empty cell, you are deleting a row, and that row, if it contains any value, you are deleting an important information. So we are not advised to delete a cell. So you can actually fill a cell with either null or unknown or unspecified. If it's a number column, you can fill it with 0. If it's a text column, you can fill it with null or unknown. So now let's go back to our find and replace. Let's go back to our find and select, then go to special. then select blanks, press OK. So it's going to select the empty cells. Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 empty cells. So remember, we are not to delete our empty cell. If you delete your empty cell, you are basically going to delete the row altogether. So we're not deleting an empty cell. We're just going to, fill it up with null. So all you have to do is, after you select your, after you selected, the empty cells are selected, just type in null. After you type in null, then press Control and Enter. Control and Enter key. It will now replicate in other columns. So now we have null here, null here, null here, and null here. So this is what we do when we have an empty cell. So if it's in a number column, replace it with 0, right? Replace it with 0 if it's in a number column. Okay, so the last thing we are going to talk about today is how to make use of find and select. How to make use of find and select. So let's say you want to find a particular value and replace it with something else. How do you do that? So still go back to this find and select icon, then go to replace. So we're going to do what? We are going to find null, and we're going to replace with it what? Unknown. We replace with unknown, right? So this find and replace helps you to find a value and replace it with whatever you input. So we'll find the value on null and replace it with what? Unknown, and then we'll press replace all. We say all done. 10,205 replacements. Press OK. So find out that the nulls that we have here have been replaced with unknown. So this is how we use the find and replace function. So I hope we learned a lot today. If you have any question, go to the comment section and ask your question. I hope you enjoyed our class today. See you in our next class. Bye.